much. Friends, this is Amelia Parker, and we're so grateful that you're sharing your gifts of music with us this morning. You'll hear from Amelia again a little later on today. Well, the times, they are changing. And as you see, we have ropes back up, we have some distance back together. And unfortunately, for the short term at least, the recommendation from Dr. Strang is that we now have the singing led by a choir, and the congregation is asked not to sing at this point. This is not the Christmas story we wanted, but it is our reality at this point. If you would like to, you can of course follow along with the words as they come, but feel free to hum along with the hymns as you see fit, and enjoy the music led by us up here.
Welcome to our service of worship this morning, and welcome to you and those who are joining us on the line. We gather together in this space and we are surrounded by love. We come knowing that here we are free to be who we are called to be, and we bring all that we have and all that we are so that we can grow and learn and become together. There are announcements. Are they on the slides? I can't remember. So let's just see. Nope, okay. So, from the Christmas Index team, they are on the countdown to delivery day, which is this Wednesday. Tags with gifts must be dropped off to the hall by tomorrow morning at the latest. So if you have picked up a tag and we're getting a Christmas gift for one of our families, please make sure it's into the church by tomorrow. And a special thank you from the team for all who have participated and will do the driving on Saturday and made this year a great success. Also, not what I'd like to be talking about this morning, but in light of all of the exorbitant numbers and cases, we had 426 yesterday. Many of the churches in Nova Scotia have already decided to go online until January the 9th at the earliest. So my question for you is that right now we have not been officially shut down by the health department. That may happen on Tuesday, who knows? But I want to know what your comfort level is about us doing in-person worship. So, if you would feel more comfortable for us to say, let's just go online until January, raise your hand. And those that feel comfortable being here, just give her a raise. Okay, so we're kind of in between. Okay, well, we'll let you know what the official decision is going to be. The executive will meet this week if we need to have those discussions and make that decision. I honestly don't know where I stand myself. Part of me says just because we can doesn't necessarily mean we should. And in light of the rising case numbers, I am a little anxious, but we will play it by ear and see. So, if come Tuesday we need to make that decision, we will, and we'll notify folks in the ways that we normally do. We'll put it on our website, we'll put it on Facebook, we'll send you emails, we'll make calls to those of you who are not connected on computer. But for today, let us enter into this time together. And I'm going to invite you this morning to join as we, in story and song, recall the Christmas message of love. When authors create a piece of music, more often than not, they are inspired by a situation, a person, a spiritual aha moment that enables them to bring to life the message at the heart of their faith. These words tell a story of divine mystery, of understanding, of comfort, of peace, of love, of joy, and sometimes challenge. They speak the message we desire to share with the world. So today we will explore some long-held favorites and hear some newer pieces as well. As we listen, may Spirit touch our beings, open our hearts, and may love shine. I know it does. Feels weird. I didn't put my mask on and I'm thinking, okay, I'm just standing here. So use whatever feels comfortable for you throughout this service. If you feel more comfortable just sitting and taking it in and enjoying it, do so. Don't feel like you need to stand for the hymns. If you want to stand, that's too. Maybe you need some calisthenics. Let us join together in prayer. In this space, surrounded by love and light, we come. May our hearts be touched and our spirits renewed. Amen. In love we are held. In love we hold. We light this candle of love. And pray for love in our world. 2012, Chris and I were preparing for the Advent season. That year, I had a different vision of marking the Advent journey in a little different way, to move away from just the words of hope, peace, love, and joy, and to focus instead on the journey to Bethlehem and the characters in the unfolding drama. This meant that our traditional candlelighting hymns didn't really work because they didn't fit with the symbols that we were going to have. And so we wrote a new piece. We wrote a piece that spoke of the shepherds and the angels and the magi and the Holy Family. To date, we actually have 3 sets of lyrics to the song, We Light a Candle. Along the way, the words in the chorus have changed, and the song we sing today is the one that we have submitted for use in the new United Church Hymn Resource. Love comes to us in many ways, in family, friend, and stranger. This love embraces us and sustains us for the journey. Today we celebrate the love revealed in Robert Crooks, Harold and Betty McPherson, Jean and Frank Haynes, Lloyd McLaughlin, and Audrey Cornell. Centuries ago, a lovely legend arose that that on the night that Jesus was born, all the trees in the forests everywhere bloomed and bore their most delicate fruit. Another legend exists that Martin Luther, striding through the woods late one Christmas Eve, noticed how exquisitely pure the starlight seemed when glimpsed through the trees. He took home an evergreen that night and decorated with candles to simulate the stars. Whatever the true story is of the first Christmas tree, this custom arose in Germany, and the most popular carol about the Christmas tree was O Tannenbaum, or O Christmas Tree, which also comes to us from Germany. Many years ago, shepherds tending their flocks in the wintry hills of southern France had a custom of calling out to one another on Christmas Eve, each from their own peak, singing Gloria in excelsis Deo, just as the angels might have done on the night of Jesus' birth. The tune that the shepherds used, probably from a later medieval Latin carol, the refrain of which was "Angels we have heard on high." The text for the verse is from around the mid-18th century and again sung to a late medieval carol. These words were first published together in a carol collection in 1855. I was researching the hymns that we were going to use today, one of the things that was highlighted was that the words of these hymns, in many cases, have been changed a number of times throughout their life. Some of those reasons were because the authors themselves decided that the words needed to change to reflect the reality that they found themselves in. Other times it was because culture and society itself reflected on the words, and it didn't really speak to our understandings as they had evolved. The Huron or Wendat Christmas Carol is one such. The words that we are going to sing today are not the ones that were originally written. This hymn was written by a Jesuit priest in 1926. While the intent of this song might have been to create something that spoke to the Indigenous or Wendat congregations he ministered to, according to D.L. Seaborn, an Indigenous author, it is filled with misunderstandings of culture. She writes, as a Métis woman who has lived in the territory named for the Wendat and studied traditional Wendat culture and history, I find the lyrics, written almost 100 years ago, to be typical of their time in their contempt for and appropriation of Indigenous culture. These English lyrics were written during a time when Indigenous people were viewed with what today would be called condescending, paternalistic racism. Rather than a pseudo-Indian or colonist approach, I have tried to write lyrics that reflect the stories of the Wendat themselves, stories they would have traditionally shared during midwinter. They are also followed by verses acknowledging the influence of our Jesuit priest. I believe, she writes, that this is a song that Euro-Canadians as well as Indigenous Canadians will enjoy singing. They can learn about and celebrate Wendat culture. They can research other Indigenous Canadian traditions to discover the ways in which their stories are familiar or different from those of the Wendat. And if they are Christian, they can look for the similarities between the Christian and the Wendat stories. I offer this hymn to you in this time of truth and reconciliation, for learning about and respecting each other's culture is the first step.
We
invite you now to take some deep breaths. Connect your being with the source of the universe that fills our life with light and love. As we come into this place of prayer. In this space and at this time, we unite our voices together in song, singing the words of our story that bring love and light, insight and wonder. We open our beings to the song of the universe and pray that it may be played through us. May each voice sound clear notes of grace, and may our sounds together be harmonious music, joining neighbors in a melody of peace. As we gather in this place today, we hold in our hearts and place into divine love all those whose voice has been silenced for whatever reason, that they might know release and freedom. All who are sick in body, mind, or spirit, and whose voice is weakened, that they might know healing and strength. All who struggle to meet the needs of daily living, that they might find rest from their worries and see new possibilities opened before them. Those who walk through the valley of the shadow of death, that they might know a quiet rest and peace at the last. Those who are left to mourn, that they might know comfort. All of this, and the many other things that remain silent on our hearts, we release this day into the care and compassion of divine love, knowing that we are held, freed, forgiven, loved, each according to our need. And we gather all of our prayers together in one voice, in the words that Jesus gave his disciples so very long ago. Our Father, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our trespasses, as we forgive those who trespass against us. And lead us not into temptation, but deliver us from evil. For thine is the kingdom, the power, and the glory, forever and ever. Amen. It was a regular, not so regular day a few years ago, probably 5 or 6, 2014. Chris and I were preparing for Christmas Eve service. And we were in a mood, let's say. And we started making fun of everything, including all of the stories and the Christmas carols that we knew. And we were bemoaning the fact that there wasn't a hymn that told the story that had a fun tune to it, one that perhaps children could use. And Chris said, like Jingle Bells. I said, yeah, like Jingle Bells. We could have some fun with that. And in the midst of pealing laughter, we started to sing a lot of nonsense words to try and tell the story. As the laughter subsided, we looked at each other and said, oh, now we have to write a new hymn. And so we sat, and this is what came out. Now, as we prepare to leave this place, to head out into the world around us, my prayer is that we might have the eyes of the wise ones and be willing to see the signs in our midst that lead us to places we have only dreamed of. May we have the ears of the shepherds, open to hearing the melodies of praise sung by the angels in our midst, in this time and place. And may we have the heart of Mary and of Joseph, open and ready to give birth to love in our world.
Go tell it on the mountain, over the hills and everywhere. Go tell it on the mountain that Jesus Christ is born. Down in a lowly manger,